shapes or congruent triangles, or just congruent. What does that word congruent mean again? The same or equal. So if we're talking about congruent shapes, ooh, some info about shapes. What that means is it has to be the same shape. So if we're comparing, that's not an A. Brain, work. Same shape. So if we're comparing a triangle, we can't compare a triangle and say a triangle is congruent to a square, because those are not congruent. They're not the same. We can't say a triangle is the same as a circle. Okay, does that make sense? We have to at least be talking about the same type of shape when we talk about congruent shapes. And then that means that they're also the same size. In order for them to be the same size, there needs to be equal angles. So all the angles need to be matched with another angle from the other shape. And there needs to be equal side lengths. All right, then we have two more kind of big ideas today. We have corresponding parts, which we talked about corresponding angles before. That was when we had parallel lines back in last chapter. So corresponding parts is similar. What did it mean if two angles were corresponding? Go back, corresponding. They were equal, they were kind of like in the same spot. Okay, they were matching spots. So like this is where we talked about, like if I tell you to move seats, try and sit in the same spot. So corresponding really just means that we're matching. So it's our matching angles inside. Not mathing. Oh my gosh. Words today. Matching angles and sides. Okay, so corresponding parts are just our matching angles and our matching sides. All right, and then our last thing, and this one's like a really important part, is going to be the congruence statement. And this is kind of like the really big part of why we're doing a whole lesson today is the congruence statement idea. Because that's going to be what we're going to be using for the next, literally the whole rest of the year. But mostly for this chapter, we're going to be talking about congruence statements and how we can interpret them. So congruent statement means that today we're talking about triangle specifically. So we'll say triangle, and then we name the 3 points of the triangle. So like ABC or JKL. And we'll say it's congruent to triangle, and then we'll have the other one. But what's really important is that the way we name this is really important because it's going to show our reader the corresponding parts. It shows the person which parts go with which parts. Based on this information, I should be able to tell which angles are congruent, which sides are congruent, all the parts. So that's kind of our main idea here, is it shows the reader the corresponding parts. Morning, Brandon. All right, we just have 2 examples that we're going to go through, but we are going to color code them and do them. So if you want to take out your colored pencils, that might be helpful. You can also use some highlighters probably. Then you can go ahead and glue this in either on the left or the right side. You're going to want to show work, so don't glue it, do not glue it right in the middle. So glue it either on the left or the right side. So glue on the left side. I'm going to be using 3 colors as we work today. So if you're grabbing color pencils, you can grab 3 colors out. I'll probably use brown, yellow, and blue. Alright, so I'm going to glue this in on the left side. Those of you that need that beginning part, this is kind of your last chance before I move down. Alright, so as we take a look at this first one, these are congruent triangles. We're going to start by naming the corresponding parts. So we're going to start by naming angles, and then we'll do our sides. So I'm going to write underneath our angles that are corresponding. So corresponding means matching. What did I say I was going to use? Blue, yellow, and brown? Yeah, those ones are the sharpened ones. Hi, Marian. Yikes. That was a struggle. Alright, so as I take a look at this, which angles match from this first triangle to the second triangle? Angle U matches with what over here? X. How did you know? Good. They only have that one arch, that one arc, that little swoop. So angle U is congruent to angle X. What other angles do we know are congruent? S and W. Good. How'd you know? 2 arcs. So S, W, they have the 2 arcs, so that means that they're matching. So angle S is congruent to angle W. And then our last angle that's congruent, T and Y. All right, then we have our sides that we're going to name. I'm going to just do them next to it off to the side over here, sides. This one I'm not going to use colors because then we would need 3 other colors and that's just excessive. If you want a color code, you could grab 3 more colors, different colors, okay? But that's up to you. All right, so when I look at my sides, if I look U to S, that side, U connecting to S, what would that be the same as on the other triangle? X to W. Good, because I have one tick mark, one tick mark. Okay. If I do U to T, U to T would be congruent to what? Good. We could say XY. Does it have to go XY when we name that side? No, we could say YX. It's up to you. I'm going to go with XY. To me, that makes the most sense that U matched with X, T matches with Y, so UT, XY. Up to you. All right, and then our last side, we have TS or ST. It'd be the same as WY or YW, either way. All right, so for our statement, we're going to say triangle. And the first triangle, it doesn't matter the order. We just need to name all three angles of the first triangle. So we could go in alphabetical order, STU. We could go in the order we just did here, UST. We could do TSU. What do you guys think? Keep it alphabetical, STU? Sure. Okay, so triangle STU. We put that little triangle in front of it. That way we know we're talking about a shape. We're not talking about a plane. We're talking about a shape that ends. Okay, is congruent. Now the second one is really important that because we named the first one already, we need it to be matching. So when I started with S, I need to match with S. What part matched with S over in our other triangle? W. So W has to be my starter because S and W match. So remember, this tells my reader what matches, and it's because the order we write it in. So next I have T. What matched with T? T matches with Y. Good. And then last we had U, which matches with X. So when you write a congruence statement, the first triangle doesn't matter the order. We could put it in any order we want, but the second triangle has to match the same order. Angles have to go together, side lengths have to go together. All right, so we just have one more problem here. We have a congruent statement this time. Okay, if it helps you just kind of do a little line there to show that that was that problem. This one we don't have any work for other than we're going to mark up the diagram. So we're going to show the markings. Okay, so we have MNL is congruent to triangle ACL. So I always like to just start with my angles. So angle M is going to be congruent to what angle in this triangle? A. How come? Good, they're the first letters. So I'm going to mark that angle M gets one little arc, angle A gets one little arc. Okay, what other angles are going to match? N and C. They're my middle letters. So I'm going to do 2 arcs here. They're not the same, so we need to differentiate how many arcs we're doing. So N goes with C. And then our last angle, L goes with L. But when you look at L, we can't just say angle L. How come I can't just say angle L? How many angles are down there? Yeah, there's like 3 angles, or we could even like look at this big angle, this big angle. There's lots of angles. Or if I look at angle M, there's just 1 angle at M. So if I was going to name this angle on the left side, because we're going to need to do this on Monday when we name angles, how would I name that angle? How many points do we use when we name an angle? 3. And the one that really matters is the middle point. Okay? Middle point has to be the vertex. So it could be M, L, N, or N, L, M. How about this one? How would we name this one? What point could we start at? A. So we could go A to L and then C. Or we could do C, L, A. You guys are so chatty this morning. Yikes. Okay, last thing we need to do, we have congruent angles. Now we need to do congruent sides. And there's a couple ways to do this. One way is to just kind of look and see in between, since we've marked our angles. We can kind of just look and match in between the angles, what sides are what sides are connecting them. I've had enough caffeine this morning. I'm dying. All right. Or when we look at our symbols here, statement, we look at like kind of what's connected and what's touching. So I have MN to start with. So MN, M to N. I'm going to mark that with a tick mark. That's going to go with the first 2 letters here, AC. So AC. So that would get a tick mark. So these are the sides that match. Okay, then the other 2 letters, or the other 2 sides touching is N to L. So I like to do kind of a light circle there. N to L, 2 tick marks. Is going to go with C to L. And then there's kind of one last side that's not stated, and it's the ones that are kind of on our outside. So M to N. Nope, M to L would go with A to L. So when you look at that for side lengths, you kind of have to think the first two, last two, and then the outsides are together.